So today we're gonna find out how feasible it is to jumpstart an engine with a welding machine. All right, we got this machine running. You can hear the water cooler in the background. Now, some things I'm gonna do to mitigate the chance of destroying stuff is clamp this as close to the starter as possible. These vice grips go right onto the bolt which holds the starter in place. And we're set to 60 amps right now. If I'm able to, I'll take a glance over at the readout on this machine and it should tell us exactly where we are pressure or voltage wise. So yeah, I'm not exactly expecting this thing to start. It was shipped to me with no fuel, no oil in it. It's full of oil now, but it still has to pump a bunch of fuel into itself. So let's see what happens. Whoa! Haha! It works! That thing spun really friggin' fast. All right, let me try that again, but looking at the looking at the display on the welder this time. Yeah, okay, so with the welder set to 60 amps, it was reading out 71 amps and 15.5 volts as we're cranking. Ha! This actually isn't that bad of an idea after all. I won't say entirely that I fully recommendify it, but it seems to be actually working. I don't think it's going to start though until I hook up this return line from the injector. 17.8 volts. So what have we learned from this? We learned that jump starting a piece of equipment with at least with a stick welder really isn't even nearly as sketchy as I thought it was gonna be. You know, when somebody first told me this idea, I was like, no, what's wrong with you? Why would anybody ever wanna do that? But when you think about it and you realize it's a lot of amperage and a little bit of voltage, and especially now cranking away at this thing, we again set the machine, the welder to about 60 amps, and when it was cranking, I looked at the readout, it was 71 amps and like 15 volts. So it's really not that bad of an idea. However, I still think this is extremely risky. I did some research on this and I discovered two things. One, if you have a constant voltage welder, for instance, a MIG machine or an engine drive that's set up to run wire feed welding as well, there is a good chance you would be able to set that to maybe like 12, 14 volts, 16 volts perhaps, and jumpstart off of that much more safely than what we're about to do, which is to use a constant current power source like the stick welder. I also discovered in my research this evidently is something which people do and you know have thought to do, and evidently it normally works out very well. However, the folks who I've read things from who claim to have done this with a lot of success in the past are ones who work on mining equipment and large agricultural machinery, and some folks use 24-volt electrical systems like on big tractors and some semi-trucks. So those things are probably much more resilient. It also helps if whatever you're jump starting doesn't have any type of electronics or computer controlled anything on it, for instance the single cylinder Yanmar diesel engine. However, it really actually worked surprisingly well, and if I was ever in some type of, you know, desperate survival situation or whatever, and this is what it took to get something going, this is probably something that I would be willing to try. So take away from this video what you will, but I just wanted to try it and film my adventures, so now we know it actually worked surprisingly decently.